This is a brief tutorial on how to assemble the train. So the first thing we're going to do is place the body. So choose that and place it somewhere, and then we will ground it. Always be sure to ground your first part. So right click on the body and choose grounded. Everything we place from here on out will be in relationship to this grounded body. If you forget to do that, then you can get your drawings out of alignment and it's practically impossible to get them correct again. So always ground your first part. For most of this, it's stuff we've already done, so I'm just going to work through it for some of the basics, and then I will stop and highlight some of the key points as we go through for things you haven't seen before. Okay, for this part, what we're going to do is use an insert constraint, and we're going to insert using the central axis of this circle and this edge, and the central axis of this inner circle and this edge. So to do that, we press Constrain, we choose the insert tool. Let me move this out of the way. And then we're going to choose this outer edge and this outer edge right here, and it should go right onto the back of the train. Once again, we're going to use the insert constraint to insert this peg into the magnet where we connect this outer edge ring to this edge right underneath the top of the hitch peg. So in this case, we're going to constrain using insert, using the bottom edge of the stack and the bottom edge of the hole where the stack goes. Let me zoom in on that so you can see what I'm clicking on. So for this constraint, what I want to do is take this little guy and I'm going to free rotate that so I can do this in one movement. So I want to be able to see the bottom edge, and I want to see this and this at the same time. So now we're going to use the constrain function, and I'm going to insert. I'm going to zoom in on this edge, the outer edge. Be careful, there's a lot of circles here that you can connect it to. We want this outer edge, and then we want to go to this very top part right here. And when we do that, the peg goes into the hole. So let's do this again. Constrain, be sure to select Insert and get this one here and this one at the very top edge right there. Apply, and if everything works well, we will have the pegs. Be sure you're clicking on the Insert option. Okay. Next thing we want to do is attach the linkage arm. I'm moving this out of the way so that I can constrain this peg to the back of that. So we're going to use the Insert Constrain again. Okay, for the other side, you will need to do exactly the same thing. I'm not going to do all of that here. I just wanted to get to this point. You should be able to grab this and make the wheels turn. The next part is putting the cow catcher on the front. I'm going to show two different ways to do this. Let's go ahead and place our component. Right click and place component. And we're going to do the cow catcher. Open. Alright. So I'm going to place that there. And then we're going to free rotate this a little bit so that we can see the back. Let me explain the two different kinds of ways we're going to do this. Notice on the back that it has these 3 pins. And on the front of the train, we have the 3 holes. The odds of some of the dimensions being off between these two parts are really high. So the first way I want to show you to connect it is to use the 2 lower pegs inserted into the lower holes, and then we'll just let the top hole float. The second way to do it is to insert the center hole, the center peg into the center hole, and then align the bottom of the cow catcher with the bottom of the train. And it's important that you know how to do this because we'll use it for something that we can do with the wheels to make them work properly. Okay, so we're going to start with using the pegs. I'm rotating this down so I can see this hole and the peg at the same time. Okay, so what you see from the front of the train is you see that the cow catcher is on there and it's attached with the 2 pegs. If I click on this, I can't move it at all. Okay, so now that I've done that way, I'm going to Control Z a couple of times and do it again with the second method. So in this case, I'm going to use the center peg in the center hole, and then we're going to align the bottom. So let's do the inserts again. Okay, I have positioned the train where I can see the bottom of the cow catcher and the bottom of the train. So I can see this and I can see this. The constraint we're going to use is the one called angle. And we're going to use the first choice here, directed angle. And to do this, we choose this face and this face. And they're set at 0 degrees from one another. This is essentially aligning these two parallel. And after I do that, I can go back to the front of the train and try to move it, and I cannot. And if I look at it from the front, you can see that the bottom of this is, the cowcatcher is aligned with the bottom of the train. So those are the two ways to put the cowcatcher on. So what I'm going to do now is assemble the other side of the train off screen and then show you something to do at the very end. Okay, so I have assembled the train, and we are going to make it where the wheels turn together and stay in alignment. One of the things that can happen if your linkage arm isn't properly built, it will do this. See how the wheel on the back is going opposite every now and then? So right there, there's a little bit of harmonic, so they don't line up, and we don't want that to happen. So rather than going in and fixing the measurement errors, because if it was perfect, it would work. And it's probably not perfect. What we're going to do is make it work every time. So what I want to do is turn this until they're both at the bottom. Okay? So that's at the bottom. Notice this. If you look at the front of the train, you'll see that this one is on the lower side and this one's on the upper side. We want them both to be on the bottom, so I'm going to rotate the train just a little more. Alright, so I want to grab this and pull this down. Okay, so now they're both close to the bottom. And like we did before with the cowcatcher, using the constraint that lets us do a joint, and it's a directed angle. We're going to do that here with the bottom of the linkage arms and the bottom of the train. Now if we grab this linkage arm and turn it, it stays horizontal. The other thing I would like to be able to do is make it where if I turn one wheel, the other one turns as well. So if I'm turning this one, I want them all to turn. There's a couple of things we need to make sure of before we start this. So make sure that the linkage arms are lined up. So in this case, I'm going to put them both at the top. So you can see right here, this one's at the top and this one's at the top. I'm going to go to my first wheel over here in the object browser. Let me close some of this down. Alright, so on wheel 1, you can see that's the one on the very front. No, actually it's this one right here. So this is the first one I placed, so it's wheel 1. I'm going to expand that, and I'm going to open the origin folder up. And you can see the different planes. The one I'm looking for is the plane that intersects the wheel all the way through. And you can see that the YZ plane doesn't do that, the XZ plane doesn't do that in this case, and the XY plane looks like the one I want. So it looks like it goes through the middle of the wheel. So I'm going to choose that, and you can see it does go through the wheel. That's the one I want. I'm going to right click on that and show visibility. And since this is a visibility attached to the part, that means that all of this is going to turn it on for all 4 wheels. Now what we want to be able to do is make it where these two, the ones on opposing sides, we use a directed angle that is at 0 degrees all the time. So we're going to apply Constrain, and we're going to choose Joint, Directed Angle, and then we're going to choose this work plane and this work plane. Except I didn't check. You have to click on the edge. Okay, so what that does, now that I apply and click X on that, now if I grab one of these wheels, all 4 wheels will turn. And since the linkage arms are linked to the bottom of the train, they will always be the same. You may not want to have these visible all the time, so what you can do is over here on the XY plane, right click on that and choose visibility, and now you have a tidy little train that will turn, the wheels will turn as you move them here. That is how to assemble the train. Be sure to save your work.